Broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to episode 224 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Jake Challen, with co-host Zach Carlson. This is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. Hey, Zach, what's up?
Hey, so is this the full episode about 224 Valkyrie?
Oh, we could keep going down the theme road. I've never even shot a 224 Valkyrie. You've probably built like 7 of them, though.
I did build one for an article. I did an article about changing, taking a gun that's, lamenting in your safe and making it into a long-range rifle. And I didn't get I don't know, 224 Valkyrie was like really popular there for a minute, and maybe it still is, but after I built it, I shot it, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't really get it. But
anything like that, I'm like, how much is it per round? Nah.
Yeah, the theory was good, but I ended up trading it for a Ghost 45 suppressor, so I think I made out all right.
Wow, cool.
So how was it? What did you do in guns? Regale the tales of you and guns this week.
Oh, so you're throwing me under the bus. Well, I did something in guns this week. I mounted...
So you found a gun.
I found a gun.
You couldn't remember even what model it was.
Well, it says it's a Glock 17 Gen 4 on the slide here, so I'm guessing that's what it is. And then
nice.
Mounted the optic on it, and I could only find 2 extendo mags. That's all I could find for it. And like some of them already had a few rounds in it, and them of like some terrible like Winchester self-defense ammo, so I just shut that up. And then all the other ammo I could find was steel case. Like, I have no idea where any of my stuff is still. So I put, first of all, installation. So this is a Glock MOS mounting system. It's got, comes with 4 different plates you can mount. Probably pretty much any optic to use in any of those 4 mounts. Pretty slick, installation and everything. You remove, in this case, I have the Howelson HS507C, so you remove the base that comes on that, and then you attach one of the plates that comes with the Glock MOS that matches up, and then you kind of screw it together with 4 screws, 2 screws for the plate to the slide, and 2 screws for the optic to the plate. And I put 2 extendo rounds, full mags through it, towards
66 rounds.
66 rounds. So probably about round 64, something hit me in the head, and I was like, "Oh, where'd my optic go?"
It fell off.
It flew off, hit me in the head, and landed behind me in the grass.
Oh, what happened?
So the Loctite that comes on those screws, because all these screws have Loctite on them. The Howelson screws have Loctite on them. The Glock screws they all have blue Loctite. I don't know. They just quickly work them. Well, so around round 40 or so, I was like, man, I was like drilling this thing. I mean, like I mounted it. It seemed right on. I'm like, I just can't hit anything. It's like the dots bouncing all over, and I'm like,
the dots bouncing. There you go.
Yeah. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I'm like really focusing on trigger control and everything, and turns out it was just bouncing all around on the slide because there was probably only 1 screw still in it at that point.
I'm surprised the battery didn't come out from it while it was still attached, but loose enough that the battery would have, escape room to pop out.
Well, it's got like a cover over the battery on the bottom of this one. So, but it was still on, and I left it on when I remounted it. And I had to use, luckily, 2 of the screws that came with the Howelson worked, because previously I'd used the screws that came with the Glock. But I put it back in and ran 2 more mags through it, and like every 10 rounds I was like chucking it, seeing if it was snug. And it's still snug right now too. So, and like I thought I was going to break the screws the first time I got so tight. So I don't know what it was. It just, the Glock screws have maybe slightly looser tolerances on them, or bad Loctite or something.
And the head shape was the right shape, right? Because I know the Holosun and the Trojacon RMR. We should mention that the 507C uses the same footprint as a Trojacon RMR, even though it's slightly different. The screws are slightly different though, so I wonder if the head shape. No, it didn't pull through, right? It just actually it loosened up, and you lost the screws, I assume, right?
Yeah, the screws were long gone. Yeah.
That's so funny.
I'm going to be on eBay or Brownells looking for MOS screws here, but.
Well, the good news is you can buy Glock sells those MOS plate kits, and they have all the screws and everything with them. Just it kind of sucks to buy the whole plate kit just for the screws, but well, that's funny. Well, I'm glad you got it on there, and it was the screws that had mounted the optic to the plate, not the plate to the gun, right? That loosened.
Right. Yeah. Screws that optic to the plate. Yep.
Wow. And you said you got them really tight, but they're only like 10 inch pound tight. They shouldn't be like death grip tight.
Well, I over tighten everything because I'm a man. So,
a man with a flying optic, more like. Wow. All right. Well, but did you get used to the dot?
Oh yeah, right away. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Well, I know you haven't been shooting in a few years. Did it feel weird to shoot a gun for the first time again?
Hey, it's the second time I've shot semi-automatic pistol since moving in 6 months ago. So it's like.
Ooh, that's a streak, I think.
Double what I shot last year. So
pretty soon you're going to get a tactical nuke.
Shh. I am looking at those silos they have up for auction.
Yikes! That's all you need to really complete the package.
Yeah, does that go on a 4-4?
Maybe. Well, good. I'm glad you like it. You'll have to get more rounds down and really practice with it so you can find the dot. I notice you still have the factory Glock sights on there. Do you think you're going to put tall ones on there, or are you just going to leave it up to the dot?
Yeah, I'd like to put some suppressor height sights on it. I hate these plastic Glock sights anyways, so that's on my list at some point here. And, well, another thing that came in is the Olight Warrior X light. This thing is, I think, like 2,000 lumens or something. But the biggest deal about this light is it has a throw of like 560 meters or yards. I forget which it is, but a very far throw. And I was not expecting it to really do it, but it does it. It definitely throws it that far because I've measured out distances out here before, and it's pretty dang impressive.
How much did Olight pay you?
Nothing.
Olight pays everybody. If you're not getting paid by Olight, then there's something wrong with you.
Well, sign me up. I didn't know they paid everyone.
Oh, they pay. If you notice when a product is launched and there's a bunch of them all releasing videos and stuff on it. Do they follow the Springfield method of? Yeah, yeah. They Hellcated their way right into the same market there. So you like, how much is that light retail for?
Good question. I think it was like $180 or something. I'd have to look that up, but I mean,
it's almost like you should have a place to put links to things for people to click on.
We'll put a link in the show note, and you guys can check it out. I like how it charges. It's a magnetic pop-on charge on the end cap, which is how you actuate it as well. And it's got a low and a high, so you can push in just slightly to get the low beam on, then click all the way to get the high beam. And in a lot of scenarios, you really have to use the low beam because the high beam is so freaking high on this thing.
What's the lumen supposed to be? You said 2,000? Is that right?
Yeah, 2,000, I think.
Is the body a 1-inch tube? So you can put in like a regular, like most flashlight mounts are 1-inch tube mounts.
Well, yeah, I assume so because you can mount this in a rifle, and they have a pressure switch that just snaps on magnetically. There we go, to it that you can use on a rifle. And I need to look that up because I'd like to be able to throw this on the AR and play around with it too.
So what's the battery situation? Is it an internal battery that's affixed in there, or is it like a 18650 that you can pop out or something?
It's a real long. It's like CR123 diameter, but it's like a real long one. It's like two of those stacked together. I don't really know like what the deal is, but I like it. I mean, for the money and everything, and it seems really durable. But time will tell. If it takes a crap on me, I'll let you guys know too.
Cool. So you actually did a couple things, one gun directly related, one gun adjacent.
I'm just feeling so tactical and warm and fuzzy inside right now.
Wow. Well, that's good.
So,
I get you make mine look like pale in comparison.
So what'd you do?
Well, I took that Tikka T1X that I've been ranting and raving about for the last couple shows, and I painted the stock. I haven't painted a stock in probably 10 years. I think the last time I did it was actually in my parents' basement on a Marlin X7.
Wait, you painted that yourself?
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I thought you professionally had it done.
No. Oh, wow. I thought you were just pulling my chain here. No, I got to be truthful. It was a stencil kit, so I, had a lot of help there. But, it was a plain black plastic stock. And, with that Marlin that I had back 10 years ago, that's when they first came out. That's when, the wave of cheap bolt-action rifles came out.
Right.
The Marlin XS7 was one of the first, and, the Savage Axis came around and all that. That's way before the American series rifles and all that. That gun had a cheap plastic stock on it. Nobody made aftermarket stocks for that gun, so I thought, okay, I'm going to paint this. And that was really when GA Precision came out. They were getting really popular back then, and they came out with that Gap camo. I think it's GA Precision camo, and I like that camo pattern. I thought it's very big and blocky. And they a company sold a stencil kit for it that was super cheap. And I bought a stencil kit, painted it in my parents' basement with just Krylon camouflage paint, and it turned out fine. And I still had some of those cans of paint in my garage from 10 years ago, but I wasn't sure if it was good or not. So I bought some new stuff just to have it with me. But the same company that I bought the stencil kit from the first time is no longer in business. But I found this other company that I'll put a link in the notes. It's BransonCerakote.com, I believe. They make a kit, and I bought a 2-pack just to be, for something else if I want to do later, another rifle. But it's really cool. And one thing that the old stencil kit did not have that this one does is the big blob patterns. It's a big blob on the stencil, but then they have a die line that cuts it in half. So you have your two colors. That's why the two colors match up perfectly to each other. So it's not just a bunch of single blobs out there of color. You have one big blob that's two colors made up of that. And I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't quite get it till I watched one of their YouTube videos of explaining how to do the stencil kit. And then it kind of clicked. And, if you watch their tutorial video, it makes a lot more sense because you put a Sharpie number on the stencil so they match up, so you know which one goes with which as it's on, and then you kind of have to take pictures of it too, because once you spray it, you lose your Sharpie marks because you spray paint right over it. But if you take a photo with your phone when you go to do the next color, you can match up which number was which. But it's pretty simple. Did it all in a night. Put a dead clear coat over it. So. I took pictures all along the way. I'll probably write it up for rangeshot.com so you can kind of see a pictorial of it. But I was able to do it all in one evening, and so far, so good. I
mean, you just added, $500 of value to this on Arms List?
Yeah, I mean, it's custom now.
Right.
But what I was really impressed with that stock, too, is I took it all apart. I took the butt plate off and the trigger guard and all that stuff off just so I wouldn't have to paint. I want to make it look more professional where you don't just spray the whole thing like you just left the gun together kind of thing. And the stock was already full of foam, which I thought was pretty interesting. So it didn't have that real hollow tinniness to it. It was actually already had foam in the buttstock because that first Marlin that I did, I actually used Great Stuff foam in the buttstock to deaden it, because it was just so chintzy and cheap. So it made it really good. And I've heard people doing the foam and throwing a little lead shot in the foam before it's cured, and it gives a little more weight to the stock. But so far I like it. It looks really good, I think. We'll see how it handles it. It's only spray paint. It's not Cerakote or anything, so can't really vouch for durability.
I'm going to stock up on some Krylon and foam and start flipping guns on Arms List. I'll make $1 million.
Yeah.
No, I think it looks great. It's a good look to it, and that I think that system the stencils have adds seems to add pretty good definition between the colors and shapes to it.
Oh yeah, that really works. I've seen people do it with little natural sponges and just kind of do they have a dirty camo style, and it looks all right. But I think this looks more a little clean and professional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, I guess the main topic we'll get into what else you've been up to, right? So Patriot Patch helps make this episode possible. You can check out the Patch of the Month Club at patriotpatch.co. And we also have some new leather patches. I'll have to grab some after the show and show you, Zach. And we have leather leather coasters as well. So if you want some drink coasters, they're head stamp patches. They're 9mm, 45, 308, and 5.56 4-pack of thick leather, high-quality American cow coasters at patriotpatch.co.
I don't want any of those foreigner cows.
Don't want any of those Chinese or Vietnamese cows.
Is this a Chinese cow or a Japanese cow?
All right, we're to the main topic, safe spaces. We're looking for safe spaces, looking for love in all the wrong places. So, Zach, you've been upgrading your current safe, and I'm looking for a safe. So first we're going to dive into what you've been up to. And do you know what kind of safe you have to start with? I
don't know the exact model. It's an Iron Man safe out of Hayden, Idaho here. It's a local safe company. Truth be told, this safe was given to me by my boss, so I didn't really have a whole lot of choice in the matter. But it was free, and it's a heavy duty safe, so I'm happy with it. But had I started all over again, I actually put a link in the show notes here for if I was going to do a new purchase and I didn't have a safe before, I would definitely go with this Bighorn safe from Costco. My buddy Dan has it, and I'm jealous of it every time. It's got that flip out rack and everything on it, so you can just swing out the whole rifle rack.
Well, I looked at those, and I started looking at the reviews, and like people have nightmare reviews on those. So
I don't believe all the reviews. I mean, on Costco, it's got a 4.6 rating out of 5.
Yeah, I think it was on Costco. I was looking. Anyways, do you know about roughly how big your safe is? Is it like a lot of them are about 60 inches high, 59 inches high? Is that about yours?
Yep. That is exactly my height. 60 inches tall, 48 wide, and like 20. It's internally 24 inches deep. So I think it's like 28 outside diameter or outside edge. But it's 5 foot by 4 foot. I know that. And then the depth is 2 foot ish in the inside.
So anyways, you've become dissatisfied with the organization system it came with.
Well, I mean, if you've seen any safes out there, they all suck. All the interiors suck. There is I've never seen a really good organized safe. I mean, they don't know what you're going to have. Like, what if you have all pistols and you don't even own rifles? Or what if you have a bunch of rifles and no pistols? Like, there's no perfect scenario. So this one, when I got it, it had the typical top shelf that went full width, and then it had a narrow shelving right down the center, and then it had 2 sides for rifles. So it had like 2 little horseshoes for rifles, and then a center divider. The one thing I don't like about my safe that I really do like about my buddy Dan's Bighorn is my door is small compared to the face of the safe. So it has an 8-inch overlap on each side. So it's kind of like you're like going through a little portal when you open the door up to get into the rest of the safe. So that's kind of annoying. His has a really thin bezel, so the door is about the same size as the whole face, which is kind of nice. But so this 8-inch overlap that I have on each side, every time you go to put anything in there, you kind of like it just was not ideal. And they give you these little shallow shelves, and like they have these, everybody has seen a safe. They have these where it's like a cutout you have to like slip the barrel up and underneath there to get it in there to stand up, which is totally ridiculous. Like if I have to unpack any part of the safe to get something else out, I consider that a failure. I think that is totally ridiculous. It's not conducive to anything. And so what I did when I first got it, I gutted it. I kept the top shelf. I moved the center shelf over, and then I built wood shelving along the side. So I was able to put ammo cans and everything along the one side. And then I had a smaller side for rifles, which was fine when I didn't have a ton of rifles, because I used those gun storage solutions where they're like a plastic peg that you put down the barrel, and it has a little male Velcro side. And then you just pop it up to the shelf above, and it kind of holds your rifles just in free space. And then you can get a lot more dense storage. And that's fine too, except for when you get into a bunch of shorter barrel rifles, because then there's too much distance between the top shelf that you're affixing it to and the end of the barrel. So that extra space, that plastic rod gets all wavy and it doesn't hold the weight anymore. So you can overcome that by building a shelf, so that way that rifle's, scooted up a little bit and has more rigidity with the plastic peg. And that works. I did that. I had a little shelf in the thing, and I found myself with getting more and more rifles, and I just wasn't happy. It's just like everything was a pain in the butt. I just had junk in there. The lighting was terrible. I put a battery-powered LED light in the safe with a motion sensor on it, and it took 6 AAAs, and it seemed like it was eating batteries beyond belief. So I just wasn't happy with the lighting. I wasn't happy with the organization. I wasn't happy with a lot of the stuff. So I came across, there's all these wall systems. You see people building these whole gun rooms with gun walls.
Right.
And that you need like a good, that's really good for display. It's not exactly great for inside of a safe, but I found a few companies. Gallotech Walls was one of them. Hold Up Displays was another one. And then the one I ended up settling on was Secure It Tactical, where they make cabinets for like the military, and then they have Secure It Gun Storage, they actually do sell safes as well. They're more like lockers. They're not really like traditional safes. And then they have this retrofit kits for existing safes, and that's what I went with. So essentially, it's like a louvered panel. Pretty simple. If you've ever seen an Acro Mills bins that have the hanging bins, where it's just a stamped piece of steel with what's essentially a little louver, like a little finger that comes out, and then something slips over that to affix to it. Pretty simple. I think it's a little overpriced, quite honestly. I think everything that I added up, I did their 12-gun retrofit kit, which includes 2 large panels, which I think is like 36 inches tall by 17 inches wide. So 2 of those panels. And then they have these plastic stock bases they hold, each one is for 2 rifles, and they just kind of hold your butt stock on the ground so you can, keep it vertical. They give you enough for 12 guns there, and then they give you these little barrel caddies. And so it's just like they come with a bungee on it, but I think the bungee only makes sense if you have them in these mobile cabinets, because they also make cabinets that you can mount in vehicles and stuff. So that would make sense if you're bungeeing it to the cradle. But these cradles, it's kind of like a double step. So they have the barrel cut out itself, and then it goes a little bit wider with a rectangle cut, and then it goes out to these little fingers. So if you have a wide forend and you're trying to grab it by the forend, it'll capture it, or you can center it on the barrel and go in the smaller notch. So that works pretty good. Then the kit, that's all that kit comes with, is just the base stocks, the stock bases, the 2 panels, and 12 barrel holders. And that's like $380, I believe. And for me, I wanted more vertical height in my panel because I took that top shelf out. I completely gutted the safe. So I bought 2 additional small panels, which I believe are 16 inches tall by 17 inches wide, something like that. So that gave me another quite a few rungs high. And then they make a stamped steel pistol peg rack, which holds 11 pistols, pretty dense, which is really nice. They kind of stagger them. I like it a lot for that. The biggest downside with their pistol peg rack is the pegs are not small enough to fit on a 22 bore. So I thought, I don't know why I assumed this, but I thought that they might be just bolted from the backside onto the faceplate, but they're not. They're welded on there. Because I was going to take a couple of those off and then turn them down to the lathe and then reinstall them, but They're welded on there. So I'm going to use a different solution for that. So I bought the pistol peg kit as well, and that's all I have installed at this very, very second. So I wanted to get everything installed and put in, and then see kind of where I was at for open free space. So after I got it all installed, I bought a bin kit and a 4-gun shelf. So they make a shelf that basically those stock bases will fit onto, and then that way you can bring 4 guns up higher, and then I can have room underneath them for like ammo cans or something. So I'll take 4 of the shorter guns, lift them up on the shelf, and then I'll use the underside for like ammo can storage or whatever. If you have enough short guns, you could then stack 2 guns vertically, but you have to have pretty short guns to be able to do that. And then I bought the bin kit. The bin kit is just basically it's Acro Mills bins. Then they give you a couple different sizes, and then they make a stamped steel bin that is intended to go behind the rifles, because you're leaned up against the back wall, so it has kind of a triangle space that's left behind the guns. So it's a shallow but wide metal bins, and in theory you could put like a box of ammo or something in there. So I'm hoping between the bins and those shelving, I will be able to put all the magazines that correspond to the guns that they're near in there. Because that's one thing I hate. I hate when, like, I don't use the factory cases for the guns. Like, I know a lot of people keep the magazines in there and stuff. But, like, for all my Glocks, I have 20 mags for those guns. And I have 10 mags for the CZs and stuff like that. So I want to keep them kind of somewhat near the gun so I don't have to, fish around for magazines. The other use for the bins is they have a divider in them. And so I will put my 22 pistols in a bin divided. And that should keep it pretty safe. That's kind of the whole deal there. It seems to be working. Everybody knows that. Well, I don't know. Maybe people don't know, but most of these safes of these interiors is just drywall. Like it's a metal tin box with a little bit of airspace and some drywall and some carpet. Pretty simple. So you have to use anchors, and they, excuse me. In typical drywall, when you use one of those drywall anchors where you drill a small hole and then you thread in the plastic one and then you put the screw inside the plastic anchor, that dictates a lot of times you need a lot of airspace behind the drywall for that to pop open and start to spread out. Yeah. So you got to be careful with what anchors you use with this because there's not a lot of airspace behind the drywall in a well, at least in my safe. I'm not going to speak for every safe, but mine there, you could feel it when you hit the drill bit, and then when it went free of the drywall, then you hit the back metal. There wasn't a whole lot of space there. So they also only give you 4 anchors per metal panel, and these tall metal panels, they need more than that. They need at least 6. So thankfully, in my hoarding stage, I had a bunch of drywall anchors in my bins, so I was able to add a bunch more. And I kind of just, after I got 6 in there, I kind of poked at it for a while and see if there's any kind of places where it was bowed out a little bit. And then I just added anchors as needed. But I think it ended up with 6 per panel, and that's totally fine. They seem to be holding the weight. There's not really a ton of weight on it really anyways. And what this allowed me to do is it's got so much modularity because I got a lot of woodworking tools and everything. I could have just made a wood shelf. I could even made little, rifle rests and everything and done all this that way. But it would be a pain in the butt to reconfigure if I needed to. And with this louvered wall panel system and these barrel rifle rests, they just move as you need. So I've already rearranged the safe like twice. I tried to put all the wider stuff on the outside edges and kind of work in low. Then I just ended up redoing it and making it all pretty well, shortest to longest, left to right. And that's the beauty of these modular systems. So if I start buying a lot more pistols, I can buy another one of those racks and just kind of reconfigure it as I needed. And in this scenario, I have the ability to buy 2 more of those panels, put them on the outside edges, the left and right sides, and I can get a lot more storage that way too. So, since my safe is a little bit deeper, I actually have the ability, if I really, really wanted to, I could build a shelf on the front side and use my old rifle rods that go down the barrels and do like a row of rifles in front of that row, but it'd be a little bit more cumbersome. So I probably won't do that. But if I absolutely need to, I think I'll do that. But I think when I sell this house or when this house is done, I will just leave the safe here because it's all built in and bolted to the ground. And I think it's kind of stays with the house. So I'll redo it next time around, but this is working so far.
Cool.
I like it. I think it's pretty expensive though. Cause just what I said, the 12 gun retrofit kit, 2 extra small panels, the pistol peg, the 4-gun shelf, and the bin kit was like $675 plus shipping.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's a lot. Now, to be fair, I did not pay $675. They did give me a coupon to use, which it worked in my favor on the bulk of the items. But when I went to go order the bin kit and the gun shelf, it was actually cheaper for me to pay retail on Amazon because their shipping is so ridiculous. So I would actually recommend, I'll put links to, they don't have everything on Amazon, but I'll put Amazon links in there too, because, they only charge like $8.50 a piece to ship it on Amazon, but it was way more expensive to ship it through their website. So just kind of price it out if you're going to do it and see which one works for you better.
I know I found something like that earlier too, where their website was just insane shipping. And then like on Amazon, it was free. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it on Amazon and make you, cause they make so much less profit selling it on Amazon because of the huge fees Amazon takes. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, isn't it like 30% when you're all said and done? I mean, it's
yeah, at a minimum.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I didn't quite get that either, but I think the first round I paid was like $100 and some in shipping. Jeez. It only came in 3 FedEx boxes. It wasn't like it was super heavy or bulky or anything. I'm like, whatever. But I hemmed and hawed about it for a very long time. This was not a purchase I made lightly, where all my gun purchases are usually sight unseen and just kind of like on a whim. And this was not one of them by far. But I like it so far.
The panels seem to be like the standard louver panels that you see in some shops have them, or some cabinets.
Well, you would think they are, wouldn't you? But then they wouldn't be able to keep them proprietary like this. And so I thought the same thing. So we buy a lot of stuff from Global Industrial from work, and for like all the cabinets and stuff we buy and everything. And so we have a big louvered panel like that that's double-sided, that's on wheels and has all the bins. And that's how we separate people's custom orders and everything. And so I took one of the bins home with me, and it fit on my rack. And I was like, oh, sweet, I could just buy Acro bins or the Global equivalent of it.
Yeah.
And then I even took one of the barrel rifle rests and brought it to work, and it fit on the panel.
Okay.
So I'm like, hey, we're good, right? We're good. You're not, because I took a tape measure and I measured the spacing and the height, and it's not exact. It's pretty close if you just go one loop to one loop or one louver to louver. But when you start spanning, I think I measured 4 louvers over, and I was off by over an inch. So it was the spacing isn't quite right. So it might actually work for most cases, but like that pistol peg rack, it spans 6 louvered positions, and it goes 4 high. So if you're not right when you go to put it on there, the cutouts in it aren't going to line up with the louvers.
Zach, that's why God made angle grinders.
Yeah. Okay. But that's the other thing too, is I looked, I was going to order the bins off of Amazon, and the amount you have to buy in a pack, it didn't make sense, because you don't need 12 bins for this or whatever, like you need a lower quantity.
Oh, yeah.
And then the panels that they sell we're not going to effectively use space in the safe. Like it was like a 30-inch wide panel, so I couldn't go too wide or something. It was like a weird combination of the sizes just didn't line up, because I actually even thought about that, using the off-brand ones for the side panels, because it doesn't matter as much. And I might still do that eventually, but the prices weren't that much different that it didn't seem to make a whole lot of difference for me. But
so the rifle rests that the buttstocks sit on, do those just sit in the bottom of the safe then?
Yeah, they just sit there. They interlock. They have little pegs that come off on each side, and they interlock with the one to the right and left of it. But they literally just sit there. And then the shelf kit that I bought, they will sit on that shelf, and they're specifically sized for that. There's a little lip that holds it on there.
Oh, that's what that's for. Okay.
Yeah, so you could do that. It doesn't have to be, but yeah, they do. The other thing I did is I was never happy with the lighting, and I didn't think I was going to be happy with any battery-powered lighting. And here's another thing where you think that your safe is so awesome and it's going to be just so great. And because my safe had holes drilled in the 4 corners for the bolts to go down the floor. And so I never had to do anything. And I thought, well, there's got to be a knockout somewhere on it. So I brought an endoscope home with me, and I was fishing out underneath the safe to see if there was a plastic plug or something, and there wasn't. So I was like, oh God, I'm prepared myself to drill through this hardened steel safe. It's going to be terrible. So I get my tin-coated drill bit, my DeWalt drill bit, from like a Black Friday special, and I kind of poke in the drywall, and I pop through the drywall pretty easy, and it hits the metal, and I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm gonna have to take it forever to get through here, and it just went through it felt like. I felt like somebody was shotgunning a beer with just like poked an aluminum can. I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, I hope no robbers see this, because they could just drill this stupid thing. I was so underwhelmed when the effort it took to drill through the floor of my safe. But it was a free safe. That's all I can say. It's way better than like a stack-on cabinet. It is actually steel plate, but you could drill through it. So I was able to run a wire outside the safe for power, and I bought this kit on Amazon. These guys are pretty smart on Amazon. You can type in safe lighting kit, and they're essentially just under cabinet lights. But the one I bought was a 6 light setup. So they have these rigid 12-inch bars And then they have little pigtails on each side of them. And then they have these little twist lock connectors that plug in. So you just kind of daisy chain them all. And then they have a wall wart that powers it. But then it goes to a little sensor, a motion sensor. So they have it's all motion sensor. You can in my picture, you can see a little dome there right above the suppressor of the bolt action rifle. I just basically, I didn't have to screw anything because each light has, it's like meant to fit in a corner. So it has 3M double-sided tape on each side. So I literally just shoved it in the corner, the front edge corners of the circumference of the, and it was perfect. Like I came up the one side, I put 2 lights there, and then I put the sensor in the middle, and then I put 2 lights above and 2 lights down. And it's awesome. And like it lights up my safe really well. It shuts itself off after 4 minutes. And I tested that. I put my phone in the safe. I pulled up my camera app on my watch so I could see the camera view. And then I waited 4 minutes and it shut off. So I was like, okay, good. It's working. But it's like $40 and it's a really nice setup. And then you can actually expand it more because the power supply will handle more lights. Yeah. You could buy like another 4-pack and just keep daisy chaining them if you really wanted to.
That's a really nice light kit. Yeah, I added it to my cart. I'm going to save it for later when I figure out my safe. But that's
they make a 4 kit too. So if you don't have as big of a doorway to fill, you can just do 4. But 6 makes a lot more sense for me. You just fill it with more light.
I think your safe looks great now. I mean, you showed me a picture of it, and it's really well lit, like you said, and really, really well organized. And
yeah, I think it is expensive, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah, especially because the safe is free. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if you take a net cost, I think I'm in it, and then $600. No, I like it a lot. They do actually make a cheaper version too. So instead of being a steel panel, louvered panel, they do make some plastic ones that are smaller. And I actually was going to do those because my side panels, I could actually get more louvers if I use the smaller panels and just go more of them. But I went steel on this one. But the other cool thing about the plastic one is a lot of people say they just put the Velcro on them and stick them right to the carpeted walls, so you don't have to drill it.
Oh yeah,
because it's lighter weight. It's not a steel panel you're lifting up.
Yeah, I could see that.
A lot of different options. But I went through their whole website. I made a freaking spreadsheet that all their little kits. I took the individual piece prices, added them all up, and then the kit price, and saw which one had the best savings. Like I really crunched the numbers and totally nerded out on this purchase. And ironically, there's some of the kits that they put together that are not cheaper than just buying the individual parts separately.
Wow.
Yeah. So Secure-It Tactical or Secure-It Gun Storage, there's a link in the show notes. Take a look at them, see if you like them. I think they're amazing. I'll probably write this up for rangehot.com so people can see the whole step. I did do a video. Actually, there's a link in the video. That's right. This one I'm just going to do a video because I didn't take pictures along the way. I didn't have the patience for photographs on this one, but there is a video in the show notes. I think it's like 8 minutes long. I kind of step it through the process so you see what it is and see if it's worth it for you.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into my my dreaming, my daydreaming of a gun storage solution for my new office I have somewhat built out here. I'd like to put a big gun safe behind me here to have everything in one spot because everything is in a million spots right now. And
you can't even find magazines for your own gun or the ammo.
Yeah, it's sad.
See, I envision your setup going to be more like the Tremors setup.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah. That's someday. So I've been going, shopping online, looking for deals and flyers, looking at early Black Friday deals and trying to, my first thought was to get a 69, 65 gun safe, whatever. I mean, the range on these is really ridiculous. It's anywhere from 48 guns to like 90 guns, and it's the same size safe. It's about 60 inches tall and, 38 to 40 inches wide and 24 inches deep or so. And then, they have all different size ranges. When you're looking at the cheaper safes, which is what I've been doing, I've been looking at the Canon, the Stack-On, Sports the Field, Tracker Safe, and all of these are, cheaper safes. They're made in China, and then there's even like a whole nother set of safes that are like a little bit higher in the price range, but they're all basically the same safe. I think a few of these companies are probably the same company.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, all those gun numbers, I don't even listen to that anymore because they all take into account that the guns that you're going to put in there are like a unscoped, thin, like a 20 gauge shotgun with no optics. That's basically what they're counting.
Yeah. So yeah, don't look at how many guns they hold. You got to look at the dimensions. I found that out, and I almost pulled the trigger on this tracker safe 65 that's it's at a bunch of places. A lot of stores carry the tracker safes. And for the most part, they have pretty good reviews. Like the Canon safes and the Stack-On safes have a lot of nightmare reviews. Like they came damaged and then it was a whole nightmare getting them fixed or, getting someone to actually help them on customer service and stuff like that. So I kind of steered clear of Canon and Stack-On, and then Sports Afield is another one kind of up in the air. But this tracker safe, both Home Depot and Lowe's carries them. And one thing when you're looking at safes like this is if you can't go pick it up with a pickup truck or trailer, you got to really consider the delivery fees and everything, because it can be all over the place for delivery fees, anywhere from a couple $100 to almost $500 for some of these. But this tracker safe is a really reasonable deal at both Home Depot and Lowe's. Home Depot, I think, was the best one where delivery was actually free on it right now, which you really can't beat that. But then, I started looking at other things. I'm like, well, do I want a little better safe? And started looking at the Liberty safes and everything, and they're mid to high end. I think a lot of them are made in the U.S. I'm not sure they all are, but the Liberty safes seem to review pretty good. But Liberty safes, they have a really great website. You can do a lot of customizability on there, but the prices aren't all that great, and their shipping is really expensive. But I did discover there's several big box stores that carry Liberty safes, like Tractor Supply, and there's a few others. Another local farm store here carries them, like Fleet Farm carries them, and they run sales on them where you can go to the store and pick them up. And some of those stores have delivery options too that aren't all that terrible in pricing, and then others don't. So, and actually, if you're in the market for safe, there's a Black Friday deal at Fleet Farm on the Liberty Safe 48, where it's like $500 off or something. And so I was really considering that, but then I go down the rabbit hole of, well, do I really need a fire safe? Because I'm in the middle of nowhere. Most insurance companies won't insure my home because I'm so far from the fire department.
Wow.
So, yeah, well, a lot of insurance companies have really weird things that they're like, oh, we can't do that. Like a couple of them, just living on a gravel, unpaved road, they won't touch you just because you're on an unpaved road. And then some of them take into account how far from the fire station you are. And then if you're too far away, they won't touch you. So, like it came down to I had pretty much one option for insurance.
Wow.
But it turned out to be one of the cheapest options too. So, and then I worked back and forth with them, and it was cheaper than anything else I could find in the long run. So that worked out really good. So in my mind, in my scenario, I don't really need a fire safe, because what's the point? By the time someone sees the place is on fire and the fire department gets out here 45 minutes later, it's already too late.
True. That is true. Is that place that you're putting it, is that a single story, or is that on the ground floor that you want to put it in?
Yeah, it's on the ground floor, but there is a floor above it.
Yeah, I would always worry about in a fire, like with a safe, if it was on a second floor, would the floor just give out and then the safe go crashing down to the floor below? Yeah,
I imagine a lot of house fires, they end up in the basement, right?
That's what I've heard before. But yeah, mine's out in the garage and it's bolted to the ground. So in theory, if the house is burning, the garage won't burn as hot as everything else, and it should be most separated from the occupant spot. And
well, my other thought is, well, how hot do these get inside? How many things are going to be damaged by heat anyways? So, like, it's kind of a total crapshoot where I'm like, should I just really rely on, because it's going to be insured anyways, so should I really just be like, well, what happens? It's not like I have, like, George Washington's rifle or anything, you know.
I've got 3 sentimental guns that I'd pull out in a fire and let everything else burn.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe I would have a different feeling if I had really sentimental stuff. I mean, I have stuff from my dad, and like I have a really terribly beat up shotgun from my grandpa or great grandpa, but like, I mean, they're not like pristine museum pieces or ultra rare pieces. I mean, they mean a lot to me. It would suck to lose them, but at the same time, I'm not like, I don't think I need to gauge my whole buying decision on these kind of, you know, sentimental things that don't have any monetary value, really. And I suppose, you know, maybe in your scenario, Zach, if I was in your scenario, maybe I would look at just a small, really fireproof safe for those sentimental things, and then maybe less fireproof things for you know, for everything else.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Like, what about like documents and social security cards, birth certificates, and all that stuff? Are you just going to put that into like an office safe and then put that inside of your gun locker?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's going to be in a different building anyways, in a fire safe. So, in like a document safe, which who knows how good that would be either. I mean, I try to digitize everything I can and everything else. I mean, you can replace social security cards, birth certificates, stuff like that. So it's not like
just the pain of it.
Right, yeah. So, so now I'm kind of, you know, down the road of, well, what about just a really heavy cabinet? And so I started looking at the Securite gun stuff that you showed me, that you got your panel kit from. And
yeah, I mean, you're basically looking at the same thing I bought, but just already built into the gun cabinet.
Right, so it's like a heavy-duty gun cabinet, and it's got like good doors, good hinges. It's got, you know, it's kind of like exactly, I'm like, this is perfect. This is like a gun safe without the fireproofing. I'm like, this is exactly
until you see the price,
what I want. And then, and then I look at the price. I'm like, $1,800. And I look at the size of it. I'm like, this thing is smaller than a bigger fire safe I can get for like $800 less. I'm like, why is this so expensive? And then to tack on the shipping was just insane.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was trying to see how much shipping was, but you had to type in your full address. Did you check shipping on it?
$250 for shipping for just this item, which
it's gonna be a $2,000 pack cabinet.
Yeah, $2,000, and like, well, I mentioned that Liberty Safe 48 gun safe is bigger than this, and the Black Friday deal of like, I think it's $1,050. So you could buy 2 of those for the price of 1 of these. I'm like, you know, whenever I see stuff like that, I'm like, you know, I'm more of a bang for your buck kind of guy in most cases. So I'm like, but then I'm also thinking I don't really want a fire safe at this time. I really don't want the Liberty Safe anymore. So I'm like, well, what's out there for just really heavy duty cabinets where I can maybe get that kit Zach's getting and retrofit just a heavy duty cabinet. Like, there has to be something on the market. So I start looking around, and you mentioned that company. What was it, Global or? Yeah,
Global Industrial.
Global Industrial. They have awesome cabinets. I started looking through their site, and really awesome cabinets, and they have the very similar looking louvered panels on the back of some of them too, and they have heavy duty doors. They have doors where you can just put a master lock padlock on it. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. I don't want some stupid electronic lock. I just want a keyed lock for this, because, you know, I have other quick access locks for, you know, pulling an AR out or pulling a pistol out, you know, if I need to. But like, this is just for securing everything else. If I can just have a padlock on it, I always have my keys on me. That's what I want. And then I put a few of those in my cart, and like, their shipping is freaking like really insane. It's like $900 shipping for what I had in my 2 cabinets in the cart. I'm like, this is insane. So then I start looking around on Amazon, and then I'm like, well, I can find like the same stuff on Amazon with free shipping for like hundreds of dollars less. So now I'm looking on Amazon, and you can get like one thing I saw on Secure that was kind of cool is they call them military gun cabinets, and they're gun cabinets with just a mesh door to them so you can see in them. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. That's like, because I would like to have like a gun room with all the guns on the wall and everything someday, but like I can't do that right now. But this is almost like the next best thing, because you got the guns in a cabinet that can be locked, but you can still see them. So that's, it's like a refrigerator with a window in it, right?
Yeah. Like a TV built in.
Right. So I'm like, that's kind of cool. And like, you can get one of those on Amazon for, under $1,000 for the ones on the same dang thing on Secure Gun Storage is like $2,000. You can get it on Amazon for like $700 or $800. So I'm like,
this one that you said, that 700, the ventilated doors, the 18 by 36 by 72, that one looks pretty ideal.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty cool. And then I'm like, well, what else is out there? And then they have some that, they come with a bunch of bins in them already too, and they come with the louvered things. So I'm like, well, maybe I can just like make something. Maybe I can take a bin and like cut it down and make gun holders out of it or something. And so now I'm like gaming it, like how can I like redneckify this and make
say, how can I take a perfectly good idea and bummify it? If I only had a Mosin Nagant and I could cut the barrel down to be more sporting and put it in like a Tapco stock, I could have a really awesome sniper rifle for those suckers that paid $2,000 for their rifles. I did mine for $400.
Exactly. And I'm going to have a bayonet on it for the boogaloo, and you're going down.
No, actually, I really do like this one, the $700 one. That's I think the other one that had a bunch of bins in it might be a little bit overkill. But even with the Security, you could buy just the barrel holders if you wanted. They're not that expensive. The barrel holders,
that might work.
$29. So it'd be like $13 a gun, and then if you wanted to put the bases in there, the bases are only to keep the buttstock level. But if you put like that, that bubbly foam rubbery stuff you put in the bottom of toolboxes, so the stuff doesn't slide around in the toolbox,
right,
or in the cabinet, you put like that on the ground, and you're safe. Your stock will flip, so you can save your money there. But just the barrel holders, and the barrel holder should fit on that louver, because it doesn't matter for the spacing, because it's only one louver wide. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
So I really do like that $700 one.
And it's taller than any of the ones.
72. So then you could do a full shelf above it too, without having to.
Right. Yeah. I think that's like a super good bang for your buck.
Yeah, it's a little narrow, 36-inch wide, but it shouldn't matter. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I mean, there's probably
there's 12 wide in there, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It looks like it might be 11 louvers wide, so it'd be just a little bit narrower than the Security case, but it's literally a third of the price.
Well, and then some of these I got looking at, they call them wardrobe style, where they have like a long, like gun safe, rifle area on one side of it, and then they have all these steel cabinet drawers, like a toolbox drawer system on the other side. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. You could build out a cool like armory, chest or cabinet setup with one of those.
That was $1,700 though.
Yeah, I mean it is. It's a bit more, but it's a big cabinet, because isn't that one like 60 inches wide? Yeah,
60 wide, 78 tall, and 24 deep. That's pretty big. It has no louvers in it though. That best of both worlds would be that cabinet with a louvered panel behind it.
You're right. Yeah. Well, you can buy the louvered panels separate for these too, though, and put them in it.
Yeah, that's true. The only thing that's not really super appetizing about that cabinet is the rods that lock the door look like they're made out of coat hangers.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So I'm kind of at this place where I'm not concerned about fire, because I have insurance and I got nothing super sentimental. And my other thing is I've got like 3 locked doors before you can get through this cabinet. So I'm like, I just need it locked for kids. I don't need it locked because, well, here's the other thing. I'm sure other people have this scenario too. Like, I could have the most secure gun safe here, but just outside the doors in my shop are all the cutting tools you'd ever need to break into the super. I have all the tools here on site for, anyone to break in. I'm sure a lot of guys are like that. They have like a torch, or they have, angle grinder with a cutting disc. I'm like, they're going to get in. I mean, like to secure something away. I mean, it's more for, I don't know, keeping honest people honest, or keeping kids out of it. Right.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I'm at. So maybe some of you have a similar journey. I think these cabinets are pretty cool alternatives if you're not all that worried about fire, especially because these cabinets, just looking on Amazon, there's so many flavors of these cabinets, and they're all heavy gauge. The ones I'm looking at are 14 gauge or 12 gauge steel, and that's exactly the gauge steel they use over at Securiat for their, gun cabinets as well. Now their cabinets are cool. I mean, they have way more organization to them, so there is that. So that might be the route you want to take too.
It all depends on your budget and what your expectation out of this is. Like, because even if you do this now and you get it built out, and then later on you say, I really do want that Securiat stuff. Even if you bought all the barrel clamps for this cabinet, you can transfer that into a different cabinet. Mm-hmm. You can make this really badass ammo cabinet. Like, right. There's so many other things you could do. You could store all your mags in there organized. There's so many different things, or you could just turn it into something for your business. Like, we use these for flammable stuff at work. We have separate cabinets for flammables and for ammo and all that stuff. So we have a lot of these at the office, and they're totally modular. That's the whole beauty of it all.
Yeah, totally. I could use like a million of these cabinets too. That's my thought exactly. I could use it in the shop area, automotive stuff, or for the business as well.
The only reason I don't like the ventilated cabinet is if it's going in like a garage or anywhere that might be dusty, there's no protection for anything getting into the cabinet. So that's why I built all the, if you've seen my garage, all the cabinetry in my garage is because anytime I would I used to have shelves and everything, but every time I would do a woodworking project, all the dust would infiltrate everywhere.
Oh, so. Yeah, and I'm living that pain right now because I'm remodeling all this, and I'm like sweeping the floor every week. I'm like, I haven't cut a board for like 4 weeks. Where is all the sawdust coming from?
Yep. I used to use the leaf blowers. I had 2 electric leaf blowers in my hand, and I would just do like a swirly pattern as I'd walk to the drive and just open up all 3 garage doors and just let it all blow out.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a downside of the open. Although I did have the thought you could get like plexiglass and put that behind it.
Yeah.
You could. That might work. I don't know. Anyways, we got lots and lots of links in the show notes here. You can check those out to see what we're talking about. Episode 224 of Gun Guy Radio. Patriot Patch helps to make this episode possible. You can check out the Patch of the Month Club. We're going to be announcing the December Patch of the Month design here soon, so make sure you sign up for our email newsletter over at patriotpatch.co. Oh, I do like all the patches on the inside of your safe sec.
Oh, yeah, you like that, huh?
That's the best. That's the best part.
Yeah, it is. If you see it's going almost to the bottom already, so I'm going to have to figure out another plan going there. I think I'm going to staple a Velcro panel to the inside of the cabinetry door that conceals the safe, and then start putting them there, because once I get down to the end there, I'm going to run out of room.
All right. Hunter Design, if you need website design, graphic design, anything like that, check out Ryan Cross at hunterdesign.com. He designs all the awesome patches over at Patriot Patch Co., so you know he knows what he's doing. hunterofdesign.com. And Zach, where can people find what you're up to?
Just go to the links in the show notes. There's always YouTube or Range Hot or Instagram is probably the best of places.
All right. That I guess that about wraps us up. Zach, they can email us at gunguyradio@gmail.com if they have any comments or questions. If they want to find out, what's in your safe. I don't know. I guess you're not posting what's in your safe, though, are you?
I don't think so. Well, you can see it in the video. You can watch that video, and I think it's loaded at the very end.
Now, is Google going to Google gonna analyze your serial numbers and store them in a database? Are you worried about that?
Probably are, but if I'm looking at the photos, I think all the serial numbers are obscured in some other way, so it should be all right.
All right. Don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows here on the Firearms Radio Network. And thank you, Zach.
Thank you. Talk to you next week.
That's all right. We'll see you next week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.